Imagine having your life invaded not only virtually, but also physically by a vengeful hacker. This is the story of the Vengeful Hacker, where a person faces the terror of being haunted by someone who masters technology and knows everything about their life. Hit play and get ready for fear. John was a young, talented, and ambitious programmer working at a tech startup. He spent most of his time on the computer, developing new applications and exploring the depths of the internet. John was always careful with his online security, using complex passwords and protection software, but even that wasn't enough to prevent the horror he was about to face. It all started with a disagreement at work. A colleague whom John had never considered dangerous was fired after a failed project. The colleague, named Steven, blamed John for his failure and vowed revenge. At first, John didn't take the threat seriously, thinking they were just words said in a moment of anger. Little did he know that Steven was a skilled hacker, capable of causing unimaginable terror. Things started to take a scary turn when John received a strange email, seemingly harmless but with an attachment that, when opened, installed spyware on his computer. At first, John didn't notice anything wrong, but soon he started to observe strange behaviors in his device. The camera would turn on by itself, important files would disappear, and scary messages began to appear on the screen. "You thought you could escape me? Think again. I'm watching your every move." John tried to remove the spyware, but it seemed he was always one step behind Steven. Each attempt to clean the system resulted in new failures and problems. The feeling of being watched 24/7 began to consume John, causing him insomnia and paranoia. Over time, the attacks intensified. Steven wasn't content with just haunting John digitally. He began to invade his social networks, sending disturbing messages to friends and family, posting compromising photos, and even forging posts to ruin John's reputation. John's social life quickly fell apart, with friends distancing themselves and family worried about his erratic behavior. John decided to seek professional help, hiring a cybersecurity specialist. However, every protective measure they implemented was quickly undone by Steven, who always seemed to be ahead. John's frustration and despair grew daily, and he began to feel there was no escape. Steven wasn't satisfied with just digital terror. One night, while John was at home, he started hearing strange noises outside. Initially, he thought it was his imagination, but checking the security cameras, he saw a hooded figure lurking around his house. John's heart raced. He called the police, but when they arrived, they found no one. The incidents became frequent. Steven would send photos of John sleeping, taken from outside his bedroom window. Text messages described in detail the clothes John was wearing or what he was doing in real time. The feeling of vulnerability was unbearable. John could no longer feel safe even in his own home. Desperate, John decided to move temporarily to a hotel, hoping to escape Steven's reach. But the messages continued. "You think you can hide from me? I know exactly where you are." John realized Steven wasn't just tracking his devices but also his physical activities, probably using some kind of GPS or advanced monitoring. In a last, desperate effort, John decided to confront Steven. Using all his programming skills, he tried to trace the origin of the attacks. He discovered Steven was operating from a nearby location, using a network of proxies and VPNs to mask his location. John knew confronting him was dangerous, but he saw no other option. John managed to locate Steven's hideout, an abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. Armed with a knife and the courage he had left, he went there determined to end the terror. Breaking into the house, he found a room full of high-tech equipment, screens showing images of his own house and a hooded figure typing frantically on a computer. "Finally decided to show up, John?" Steven said without even turning around. "I was starting to think you liked the game." John advanced, but before he could do anything, Steven turned with a cruel smile. "You think you can stop me? I've already won." Before John could react, Steven pressed a button on the keyboard, and all the screens around them went dark except one. The screen showed John's house in flames. "You can't win, John. Even if you kill me, your nightmare will continue." In a fit of rage, John attacked Steven, resulting in a fierce fight. The police, whom John had alerted beforehand, arrived in time to break up the fight and arrest Steven. Steven was taken into custody, but the terror didn't end for John. Even after Steven's arrest, John continued to receive disturbing messages. "You can imprison me, but you can't imprison my shadows." Paranoia and fear became constant companions. He knew that somewhere, someone might be continuing Steven's work, or worse, that Steven had left something programmed to continue his revenge even from behind bars. John tried to resume his life, but the trauma left by the vengeful stalker was deep. He moved to another city, changed jobs, and tried to rebuild his social relationships. However, the feeling of being watched never left him. Every email, every text message, every notification was a potential threat. John lived in a constant state of alert, knowing that at any moment, the terror could start again. Want the second part of this story? Leave it in the comments. If you have a horror story and want to see it published on our channel, send us your story.